Hello, this is Catherine from The Balancing Point here with Dr. John Nieters. We're going to be talking a little bit more about visions and goals.
About vision. Yeah, whenever I write vision in this context, I always use a capital V, but I usually capitalize the entire word. This is vision. This is what your life is worth living for. This is not a small vision. It's not a small picture. And those are all fine. I'm not to demean any of those. But this is, what is my life worth living for? And so that's the vision that I want to awaken in you and help you really get into state with. Now, I had mentioned the value of having a vision partner. I told you the story of my partner, Betty, and myself, and how that just made astonishing difference in my life. And there were many other areas. I mentioned my trip to China that was really largely influenced by her being a good vision partner. But there were dozens of other things that occurred in our relationship and in my relationship with other vision partners. So I want you to keep that foremost. What is your vision? I want you to work on it, even if it's 30 seconds a day, right? What is it that would make my life absolutely worth living? What is the most important thing that I want to accomplish in this lifetime? Right? Again, Mark Twain said it best. He said the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you discover why you were born, right? What is your purpose here? So if you're living a small life and you're really, 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 really content and happy with that, okay, that's fine. However, if you'd like to play bigger, everybody that plays bigger will at some point feel incapable. So you've just got to allow that. You feel incapable. I'm not big enough to do that. Oh, well, let's do it anyway, right? You just go forward with it. Now, with a vision partner, it really speeds up the process because the vision partner, part of their purpose, just like a good coach or a good mentor, a big part of their purpose is to hold you accountable. Now, in our culture, that has largely become a series of bad words. However, you can't get anywhere without it. Good coaching is primarily holding people accountable. Yeah, if you're a basketball player, you want a coach that can teach you how to shoot the ball properly, get your stroke down, dribbling the ball properly. But primarily, it's a matter of holding you accountable to be the best that you can be, to really maximize everything you're doing. And so that's what a vision coach does. Now, the beauty of it is you're not paying somebody, you're doing it with each other. And when you're coaching them, when you're holding them accountable, that is a very powerful exercise for you. It also reminds you to be accountable. Now, many years ago, I'm not going to tell you how many, but decades ago, I worked with a group, with a fellow who did a very powerful training, and I borrowed some of their methodologies. I've added to it, I've changed it. However, I ended up coming up with what's called an accountability dialogue. An accountability dialogue. And as Catherine can verify, this lives in my wallet.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes, it's there.
And so the point of accountability truly is observation without judgment. And that's really difficult for us to get because generally if someone judges us or gives us feedback, our first response, maybe it's gross, maybe it's very subtle, but our first response is generally a little bit of resistance. Sometimes it's a lot of resistance. However, if it's truly someone holding us accountable, then the only appropriate response to that, to move our lives forward, is to say thank you. That's really it. Someone comes up and, there's a guy laying in the gutter with a wine bottle, and I walk by, he goes, dude, you got the ugliest shoes I've ever seen. Okay. I take a look at my shoes. Thank you. Thank you for your opinion. Thank you for your feedback. I take it as an act of love, right? That you care enough to actually say something to me and tell me you don't like my shoes. Okay, maybe the guy was a famous fashion designer, right? And he's fallen on hard times. Doesn't really matter. I can still and can and should consider the feedback, and the only proper response is to say thank you, because someone cares enough that they are giving you some feedback. So I'm going to go through the accountability dialogue with you. I highly recommend that you start considering it. Now, you can use the accountability dialogue with yourself also. So, the accountability dialogue, I have a series of 10 questions. So I'm going to go through the questions, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to go over the purpose for asking that question at that time. So, question number 1. So, let's say I think I have an agreement with my son that he's going to clean the dog poop up in the yard when he gets home, right?
Yeah.
This is real life, everybody, okay? So I come home and I walk out back and I'm really grossed out. And I go, hey, dude, why didn't you clean up the dog mess? He said, well, I didn't have any idea. So then I go through the accountability dialogue. 1, did you make a commitment? And I'm asking him this question. In his mind, did he make a commitment to do that job? Or in his reality, was it never communicated accurately? And maybe I made it up. Maybe I'm hallucinating. Maybe I said it in a way that he couldn't get it. But first, I want to ask him, did you make a commitment? And the purpose of that is to cause alignment. It's, do we have an agreement here? And you'll find, I see this with parents, I see this with businesses in all walks of life. It's that initial communication that is often missed. Did you make a commitment? Gosh, I don't know. Then there's no commitment made. So the purpose of that first question is, do we have an alignment? Are we in agreement about something? Now, one of the things that's so important about that is that if you find yourself with your spouse, your child, your work, getting to places where you're not sure about the alignment, then there's a problem. And you need to fix problem number 1 first. You need to make sure that there's clear commitment from all parties about all of these issues. Right. Catherine was talking about a story about someone being on a naval ship where they have nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on their communication, it's just what the orders are given, and the person who received the orders will then recite verbatim what they heard. And then the person who had given them will then repeat again the orders verbatim. And they were talking about how it must be annoying to hear the same thing over and over again. But like, no, we are on a nuclear submarine. If anything at all is amiss, we could all die, or someone else could.
Now, in your case, those of you listening at the home, you're probably not going to be on a nuclear sub, but that dog poop can get pretty messy. So, cause alignment. Now, at the beginning, and I discovered this really, I was blown away. I have 2 stepsons, and when they were in high school, they were living with me, not with their mom, and I would say things. I would talk to them in the morning, and I would say, Nick, when you get home, I'd like you to do this, and Chris, when you get home, I'd like you to do that. And pretty much every day it didn't happen. And so I'm getting really angry. It's like, okay, they're just defying me on purpose, and this is what they do with their mom, and gosh darn it, they're not going to do it around here with me. And so, but before I went off, I remembered my purpose, which is communication, and I started asking questions. So I would say, like, Nick, when you get home, I'd like you to take out the garbage, and Chris, when you get home, I would like you to sweep the hallway. And then 5 minutes later, before they left the house, I would ask them what it was that I'd asked them to do. Trust me, I was blown away. They did not accurately remembered what I had told them to do ever. Not one time.
Wow.
0. Never. So that was kind of an eye-opener. So there could have been a problem in our, with us, but it wasn't them trying to be defiant. It's that they weren't getting my communication. Now, that's not uncommon for teenage kids to block out their parents. It's also not uncommon in relationships, husbands and wives that have been married for 27 years or so, right? You just don't hear it. So it's ever more important that you confirm it, just like on a nuclear sub. Okay, Nick, I want you to sweep the halls when you get home. What did I ask you to do? You said when I get home, you don't really care. I said, okay. What I actually said is I would like you to sweep the halls when you get home. What did I ask you to do? You said you'd like me to sweep the halls when I get home. Great. So now we have alignment. Then, if I get home and the halls are not swept, I can ask him, did you make a commitment? And the answer is yes. Now, if it's bad enough with a parent and child, write it down. Everybody sign it. I know this sounds absurd, but it cuts through all the crap, right? There's no doubt we both knew this. We signed it. We agreed to it. End of story. And if you do that, you'll probably only need to do it for about a week, and then everybody kind of gets on board. Okay. Did you make a commitment? Yeah, I did. Question number 2. Did you keep the commitment? Right? Now, and the purpose of that is just to tell the truth. If anything starts with other than yes, the answer is no. If it starts with well, the answer is no. If it starts with maybe the answer is no. If it's yes, it'll be really clear. It'll be absolutely clear. Yes, I swept the hallway. Like, well, okay, so that's going to be a no. And so then you ask, what got in the way? Okay, so I'm not judging. I'm not making him wrong. I'm inquiring, right? So what got in the way? Now you're trying to isolate whatever the block is for them. What got in the way? Oh, man, I turned on Beavis and Butthead for a few minutes, and I just totally spaced it out. These are true stories, by the way. And so I just totally spaced it out, and, I just forgot about it. Okay. My response is thank you. He's responded to my question to help us move things forward. So my response is thank you. It's not to get angry at that point. It's to thank him for communicating. So now we've isolated the block, Beavis and Butthead. So then I ask him, was it possible at all? Could you have kept the commitment? See, I'm not offering suggestions at this point. I'm still questioning so that he can come up with responses that are true for him. And this will be the same with your vision partner. Could you have kept the commitment? Well, yeah, I could have. Great. So the answer will always be yes. If they come up with anything other than yes, then you have to start over. Okay. So could you have kept the commitment? Yes. What would have had to happen? See, now we're getting to a point where we're going to actually fix this problem. Now, the key here, there's one key word. I want you to think about what their sentence has to start with. Okay, there's one word when you ask them what would have to happen or what would have had to happen, their answer should always start with the word I. If it starts out with something else, you're going to have to go back and get to the bottom of it. If it starts with, well, Mom. No, so Mom might have just called and said she wanted to go take him out for a burger, right? Or, well, my friend came over and wanted to play video games. Or my brother, none of those will ever resolve this issue. And they're not going to empower them. See, the whole point of this is empowerment. So what would have had to happen? Well, I would have had to sweep before I watched Beavis and Butthead, right?
Yeah.
Simple. Not making them feel wrong. We've all done this. We've all watched the equivalent of Beavis and Butthead before we did our homework, right?
Right.
So then, question number 6, what are you feeling now? What are you feeling now? And this is really to create a level of compassion and understanding. It's like, wow, I feel really crappy. I didn't keep my word, and I really want to keep my word. It's important to me. And so now I'm feeling like I want to really focus on my commitments and do a better job. Great. So what's the lesson? And that question is to empower them. They now get to take on the positive thing that will change the outcome in the next event. So what's the lesson? Wow, dude, the lesson is just get the job done. Get the job done first with everything, but especially since you want me to sweep the hallway, just get it done first. Great. Are you willing to recommit? That's question number 8. Are you willing to recommit? And that's to inspire them, to give them a sense of empowerment, to do the job. They're not less than sweeping. They're not less than whatever the job was. They now can acknowledge their own empowerment, right? Are you willing to recommit? And that's a real question, right? Are they or are they not? With your vision partner, are they willing to recommit to having 10 new clients next week? Are they willing to plant 10 new roses bushes next week? They can always say no, and then you can go back to the beginning and create a new commitment. Far better to say, 10 rose bushes was really way more than I think I can handle. I would like to commit to doing 5 next week. Okay, are you willing to commit to doing 5 rose bushes next week? Yes, I am. Great, then we'll move forward. Okay. Then these last 2 were kind of later additions. Number 9, is your commitment consistent with your purpose? Is your commitment consistent with your purpose? Now, you all have to get aware of what your purpose is. For everything up to this point, you don't. You can do an accountability dialogue about anything, about watching TV, putting gas in the car, washing the dishes, doesn't matter. But when you get down to number 9, is your commitment consistent with your purpose? And this is more appropriate for working with your vision partner. Because they may say no. Planting rose bushes has nothing to do with my purpose. I have no idea how I got sidetracked in there. I thought it'd be kind of a cool idea. Great. Would you like to commit to something that's more consistent with your purpose? Yeah, I would. I'd like to get 10 new clients because that's a part of my goals that's going to lead up to me reaching my purpose. Great. So let's have 10 new clients. Now, number 10. Catherine, remember, you don't need to do this. Are you committed because it's important to you? Mm. See? Because people will commit because they think it's important to me. Mm-hmm. That never works. Well, it can work in a particular way, but not with this. So, you don't need to do this. Are you committed because it's important to you? And once again, that's to create accountability and empowerment. You can do this. But you should only do it if you're really committed because it's important to you. Okay? So that's kind of what I want to talk about today, the accountability dialogue. And so I'd like you to start seeing where it would be appropriate, if anywhere, to work that into your life. I love it in relationships, by the way. At first, it can feel a little clunky, but very soon it takes all the pain and suffering out of a relationship. Why didn't you do the dishes? Well, I never said I would do the dishes. Oh, I thought you knew I wanted you to. Well, I never committed to do it. Oh, it would be a really big help to me if you would wash the dishes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Cool. I'm willing to commit to that. Mm-hmm. So you just work through that rather than getting into that escalating anger and resentment that destroys so many relationships and marriages and, relationships between parents and children. So I highly, highly recommend that you start working on this accountability dialogue and start working with it so you start getting more familiar. All right? So thank you. And we'll be back next week with some more and more solid information about things that you can do to move forward. Be healthy, be happy.
Thank you.